They really just make my heart stop. I think they're so beautiful. And so I decided I'm gonna make a Magnolia Kombucha. This is a jar with the remainder of an old batch of kombucha in it, strawberry kombucha in fact, and then what you see floating inside of it is actually what we call the kombucha mother, or the SCOBY, SCOBY. And a lot of people think that this is a mushroom. It's actually not. SCOBY stands for Symbiotic Community of Bacteria and Yeast. So when we talked about the pathways to culinary fermentation in the introduction, you remember we kind of talked about this mother. It's something you'll also see in vinegar production. But basically it's bacteria and yeast in a community on a body of cellulose. And so that's why it looks like a jellyfish. That's actually the cellulose structure that sort of glues all of the microbes together. And it floats on top of the liquid, and the microbes do their work of consuming, in the case of kombucha, consuming sugars in what is traditionally a sweet tea, and then converting them to lactic acids and alcohols, producing this sour flavor that we associate with kombucha fermented tea. Every time you produce a ferment, another batch, you will notice a new layer growing on your SCOBY. And that's why you hear people sharing SCOBYs with each other, because they get very advanced indeed. And so you might be thinking, well, where do I start? How do I grow a SCOBY? What if I've never made kombucha before? And that's a great question. What you can do is purchase at many stores throughout the world at this point. You can find, usually where the juices are, like natural single-serving juices, you can find a section where there are raw, unfiltered kombuchas for sale. Find the plainest one you can that isn't flavored with anything, usually like original flavor or something. And you'll see, usually floating in that jar, you'll see a couple little tattered pieces of like mucousy looking stuff, and that is little bits of SCOBY. So buy that bottle and bring it home and make yourself a batch of sweet tea to get started. Use some regular black tea or a mix of black and green tea and sweeten it. I usually do a cup of sugar per gallon of tea. And make the tea, cool it, sweeten it obviously, then cool it completely, and then dump in that bottle of raw unfiltered kombucha. Stick it in a wide jar, such as this one, cover it with a cloth, and let it sit. And you'll start to notice within maybe 2 to 4 weeks, a little film developing on the surface. It almost looks like a jellyfish. And that's how you know that your SCOBY is starting to form. And once you've got that, you can do whatever you want. You can continue to make new batches of kombucha, or you may choose to branch out and use other flavors.